you're right in on the Land Trust Trail, which runs into North Champlain. So, but I couldn't tell. The only place I saw the tracks on North Champlain was that down by that little that real wet area, a little creek there where we have a wooden bridge. They went through the mud. They sunk in deep. That's the only place I saw the tracks.
Yeah, too bad they didn't lose their ATV in there. Any other commission member updates on open space? Okay, then I'm going to move on to 4 existing business. Open space property updates for myself. I just wanted to touch base on a couple of things. Evan, Andrea, and Lori and I walked on Bartholomew about a month ago and noticed that the trailway, that little bridge there, is underwater and needs some repair to do possibly late spring. And Andrea, we were thinking that the young woman who was a Girl Scout and her dad who wanted to do the work on Ames, and since we're not going to be doing that blue trail, maybe
I reached out to her, so just waiting to connect between school and basketball.
Okay, I think that'd be a great project. It may have to go through wetlands. I don't know if it can be administrative because there's already a bridge, but I'll let Evan follow up on that and maybe work together, and because that's needs attention. But obviously nothing we can do right now.
Yeah, I'll take it up. Find out from Dan whether he can, since it's simply maintenance of an existing bridge, whether it can be done under an administrative permit.
Maybe take a picture of it low tide.
Yeah, it's going to be under.
I have a picture. I could send it to you, Evan.
Okay, great.
When we walked.
Okay, yep. Great. I've had a couple of conversations with a few of you about the birdhouses, and I'm just a little confused where we are with the birdhouses. So I don't know if you were going to do that for an update on Andrea, and I can defer to that. Or
nice. Updates.
Are you going to mention it in your? Okay, then we'll just defer to that. And the grants I see are your in there too. Stephen, I was going to ask you any update on oh, actually, you're on the agenda, so I'll wait for that. You're on the agenda, I think, for the Artist Trail update.
Artist Trail, correct.
Okay, because I have an older agenda. Okay, then I have nothing else to add if anyone else does. Otherwise, I'll move on to 4B, the grant updates with Andrea.
Is that me?
Yes, that's you.
All right. So I did send a little note, whether it's for the minutes to facilitate that, Greg, or for anyone who had a chance to read, but my report will cover grants, upcoming work parties, birdhouses, and some other activities. Starting off with the grants, we in November submitted a grant to the Rockfall Foundation for a beaver protection, conservation, and education program for $4,000 to expand the clearing that the Environmental Club did on Ames Blue Trail to creating 2 observational sites. And this grant I identified with an opportunity to pay for the cameras, the benches, a display sign to help educate the general public to what they are seeing in those sites that we cleared. They actually awarded us only $2,500 that we formalized in terms of a contract and will be receiving within the next month, and have some planned public relation events announcing that. But in the interim, we've also identified the Hartford Audubon Society had a grant that due the Monday, the 15th, that, and hats off to Greg for crafting eloquent and beautiful, really fortified, well-researched and referenced grants to complement the Rockfall Foundation, complemented for what we would have to match then for the Rockfall Foundation. So we requested $600. That would partially meet our match, and we're optimistic that that will come through. So I know that this was we shared the news via ourselves via email, and I think that's really great that we were awarded one grant with the potential of a second. But I would just like to caution people not to share it as yet to other groups, and either casually or by other email, just because some grants piggyback, and I don't want to jeopardize pending requests or preempt public relation events that are stipulated in the grants. And so that announcements, I would prefer to be kind of coordinated, just going forward in the future.
Hi, Andrea. Can I just step in for a sec?
Please.
I wanted to mention first about the two grants. I don't know if you heard, but Michelle told me this morning that Tim Grizzle did sign your contract for Rockfall.
I saw that.
He also signed the Audubon grant, which we've sent in. And as far as the Rockfall grant, they indicated to us that they would like to do a photo opportunity of actually presenting us a check if we can do that safely, considering the COVID precautions. And they would then use that for publicity, and we would kind of piggyback on that. So we don't really want to jump the gun on them in that regard.
Exactly.
Yeah, this is Evan. I just wanted to say that I just was reading through the most recent Rockfall newsletter, and there's obviously no mention of our grant at this point, but I think probably in the next newsletter they'll want to have a section on where they've sent grant money, and have some photographs which they place in the newsletter.
Evan, I don't get that Rockfall newsletter. Would you mind forwarding it to me so I can get on the list?
Yeah, it came in the mail, so I'll.
Oh, okay. It came in the mail. Oh,
yeah,
okay.
it's a printed, and I think it comes out 3 or 4 times a year. But I've been a member of the Rockfall Foundation for probably 40 years at this point, so.
Oh, okay.
I do get it, but I can mail it to you if you want.
Amanda, I could, often publications are online too. I can check if there's a link and send it to everybody.
Okay, that'd be great. That'd be great.
Good, thanks, Greg.
Also, if you send it to our email address, it gets forwarded to me, and then I can forward it to all the members if you want to use it. An address that we can all access.
So continuing on with the for grants, I've been compiling a list of other organizations that give out grants, their timelines, the amount, and the focus. A number of them are for land acquisitions. Connecticut DEEP has one, hopefully and potentially coming up between February and March. It just needs to be, the website just needs to be checked on a regular basis at this point. But there are, I've identified at least half a dozen that I'm aware of right now that are offered the deadlines anywhere from November to March. And as more come to my attention, I'll keep these so that we could be informed and have an opportunity to apply, whether it's on an educational focus, wildlife habitat, or land acquisition.
Okay, great, great. You know, another chart you want to make for us is possibly with the Rockfall grant. I know we had talked about doing something for Earth Day, or what our time frame is. So we kind of have this chart and said, okay, we said we'd do this by this. So
Actually, on the grant and in the contract, it refers to certain dates and referencing the Earth Day and Trail Day, as we had indicated in the grant itself, to have certain activities.
So I think we need to have a time frame, and then if we have other grants that have others, so we just know that what we've got to target. So I don't want to hurt someone's feelings because we missed a target date that we said we'd do.
Sure. Yep. No, that's in the grant and in the contract, so I can make that known.
Okay. Okay. Perfect.
So Claudio, we're watching your screen now.
Yeah, I'm not sure how that happened.
Yes.
Claudia, can you hear us?
Oh, there.
Yes,
There-
yes, here I was on mute. Let me see if I can stop this.
It's on now.
It's gone?
It's fine now.
Oh, okay. Sorry, I was trying to activate the camera, but some reason it's not working.
Did you call in, Claudio? We have a new call-in user?
No.
Did
No.
Greg? Did you hear from Sarah?
I have not. Somebody just logged on, and
I
Did
can see
somebody-
there are two users, number 2 and number 6. I don't know who they are.
This is
What-
Sarah.
what
I just dialed in. I was having connection issues. I couldn't dial in before.
Oh, Sarah.
Okay, are you on now, Sarah?
Yeah, I'm on.
Oh, perfect.
Okay, terrific. I'll fill you in on what happened before that for the minutes.
Okay, no worries. It's all recorded also, correct?
Oh, yes.
That's correct. Although I have to admit, I missed the first 3 or 4 minutes before I hit.
True confession.
Okay, no worries.
I'm having all kinds of issues taking over for filling Peter's shoes.
It's okay. We'll figure it out.
Andrew, why don't we go into C, community outreach report, so we can just roll that into.
Sure. So,
Excuse me, can I just mention, you sent a doc and I couldn't print it. When I go to print, it's blank. So could you,
Yeah.
at a later date, just forward me? Thank you.
sure.
Thank you.
So the Environmental Club, a couple of weeks back, made 11 of these bluebird houses. Can you all see this?
Yeah, beautiful.
And they made 11 of those. And I was researching as to how they were put on a
Installed.
installed. And so because it calls for some galvanized or steel and mentioned junkyard, I called Paul Gleason, who is the high school girls soccer coach, but also runs a junkyard business.
All right.
He gave Evan, who came with me, and myself 8 10-foot poles. And Evan took them in his truck and he has them stored at his brother's house. So I'm going to bring this birdhouse to Laysville and figure out with them the hinges and hooks and straps that would be needed around about a 2-inch pole, I think it is. And see how we could acquire those materials. We identified at least 2 of the houses to go on the Rook Meadow property and 1 or 2 on Champlain North. And I don't think there have been other properties of ours that are identified. I do know that the Old Line Land Trust is also interested in some. And if they are to get some, they are also willing to help contribute towards the hardware for the houses. But if other ideas of the numbers and properties, please let me know. But they won't be installed anyway until like April or May.
Andrea?
Yes, Claudia.
Yes. I know that the Audubon Society, they have some guidelines on how to install the bird boxes. I think I remember that the orientation should be towards the when the sunrise. Is that's the best orientation? And there were other advice in that list, but if I find it again, I'll send you a link. But it should be really in the website for the Audubon Society.
I'm sure you could find something on the Audubon Society.
Yeah, I was thinking it might be nice to offer one as a gift to Audubon for their new location.
That's a nice thought. That's a nice thought, Amanda.
You know, and see if they have a place they'd like to put it, and then maybe we could get guidelines. But it just, you know, be kind of nice and say.
Yep. Okay.
One thing I wanted to mention, Andrea, you mentioned the hardware for, I presume, putting the boxes on those poles, but maybe Evan could respond to this, or someone. Do we need baffles or something to keep predators from climbing up and accessing the nest?
Yes. Yeah, this is Evan. I think that
That's part of it.
Baffles would be helpful. Having the boxes on the metal poles does limit the number of predators that can climb up to the boxes. But baffles are, and they can be very simple sheet metal circular baffles that we can also figure out. I'm sure that that there's information out there on the best way to do it.
Hey, Evan, you think one of those bluebird houses would work in the Cedar Meadow on McCulloch Yellow Trail?
I'm not sure that opening, canopy opening there is large enough to attract bluebirds.
Okay, because we are going to do some clearing of the invasive. I was thinking because that's it's a small meadow, but it's pretty.
Yeah.
I just want to point out, Andrea, we have an account with Laysville.
Okay.
And I usually talk to John Coffey or Linda, but the only thing is if you charge something to open space and they haven't put birdhouses, you have to save the receipt because we need to give that to Amy when we submit an invoice. But that's the only, but we do have an account there, Town of Old Lyme Open Space.
Okay.
Earmark it for what it is.
That's good to know.
Yeah. So, but you always have to say.
Very good to know. I'm only kidding.
Don't worry. They're always saying to me, "Is it your account or the town's account?" So, but yeah. Okay, great. That sounds good. So we just need to get a little more detail on it. Oh, and also Wayne Abrahamson would probably install them for us on Rooks Meadow because he has all the equipment and everything.
And Paul Gleason also lent us his tool to insert the poles, which also need to be pounded down, flattened in a fashion so that they're not blown around in the wind.
Right, Polder. Wayne has exited all the fencing over there too, and so he's out there with his Jeep and equipment. So whatever.
Good.
And I'll call Jim Mildren about the benches too, so to remind him to get going on that.
And speaking of the environmental club, I do have there are about 11 shirts, including Heather, who has not received it,
Oh, okay.
and their sizes. And I also wanted to get maybe from you, Amanda, other numbers and sizes for our selves. So I could
Okay,
call that.
I think most of the members have one. Claudio, I don't think you have. You're an appointed alternate now, I believe. And if you'd like to have a open space commission T-shirt, you just need to tell Andrea.
Stephen too.
Pardon?
Stephen.
I gave one to Stephen.
Oh,
Yeah, I don't have one.
What size? Large, extra large, medium, small.
For me, it would be a large, please.
Okay.
Okay, okay. How about for you if you want?
No, it's too small.
Oh,
Bruce, you have one, I know. Everybody else should have one.
I'm going to donate mine because it's a small one, so I will be giving it. It
Pardon?
doesn't fit. It was too small for me.
I could keep my medium for your small. And then Amanda, if there are others that you want me to order for the future, let me know how many that would be.
Okay, I think we should, and I know we have some, so if we can postpone the orders till I get back to you March 12th. I don't know if you want them before then. But we can talk about that.
Okay.
Okay.
And then the Environmental Club has identified some upcoming work party dates.
I saw.
One would be February 28th, which is a Sunday, at Champlain North from 11 to 1. And March 21st, also at Champlain North, right now from 2 to 4, but it's kind of depending on basketball practice. So it might be adjusted to 11 to 1. And then April 3rd at Griswold Point, this is a beach cleanup, which doesn't directly affect us, but if anyone wants to participate, more the merrier is always welcome.
Is that Earth Day?
April 3rd is
No, April 22nd.
it's the
Earth
22nd.
Day.
Yeah, thank you, Evan.
Okay.
Andrea,
Yes.
is the work party at Champlain North for the to clear the trail between the Yellow Trail?
Yes.
Okay.
I think that's what it would be. Where we started, Bruce, you're going to have to click the handle. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think it's where we had started last time.
Yep. And didn't finish, but
yeah.
So that's great. Good.
Evan, are you going to touch base with the Kitchens? Because you and Ken had talked about rerouting that Yellow Trail.
Yeah. I'll get a hold of him right away.
Okay, and they might be down because they have a place in the east. Because they could be working on that because that was going to come from there.
Well,
and
that's what I was talking about.
Yeah.
That moving the trail out of the wetland onto the old byway that went to the barn.
And then we're going to have to remap that in the future.
Right.
We'll have to find someone to do that.
Yep.
Okay, that would be great to move that Yellow Trail.
Is that something that could be identified before the 28th?
Yeah. Well, I just need to check in with Ken Kitchings to make sure that that's all right because it'll merge with his parking area, and so but he was, as far as I know, he was very enthusiastic about having a link to the open space from the back of his inn.
Sure.
Yeah. Great.
I'm sorry. My only thought on that, having lost a parking lot this past year, is that we may have to have some agreement, a written agreement in terms of liability and things like that. Do they realize, are they going to be parking on over by Champlain North parking area and walking? Are they going to be parking at the inn and going on the Yale?
Amanda,
Uh-huh.
I think that would be really for the patrons of the inn to use, and everybody else would be using the parking area for Champlain North that's already established. We're not going to be shifting parking to the Old Lime Inn.
Good.
I mean, we already have an official parking lot, and this would be simply a link between the inn and the preserve.
Right, but so if you're parking on Champlain North in our already existing parking area and you go down the yellow trail, you're going to end up at the Old Lime Inn.
Yeah, but we're not going to have anybody parking there in their
Okay.
parking lot.
So, okay.
I don't think we need to take any of the Old Lime Inn's parking spaces for when we have our own parking space.
Right, but I just think we might want to make a notation on our trail map there.
Yeah.
Parking
Yeah.
for Old Lime Inn residents, or users.
patrons
Just a little
only.
clarification so people won't.
Yeah.
Feel that's the only thing. I just wanted to figure out what that connection was.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay, thank you.
I just have another comment about this Champlain North, and then Bruce has something to add about the birdhouses.
Okay.
We also spoke about distributing mulch around the Barbizon Oak. I don't know if that is too early, if we plan for that for March when they have another work party planned, or if we continue with the invasive.
Who's contacting the people that did the work for us? I can't think of the name of the company. Greg, remember the kitchens offer? They did.
Yes, hi, Amanda. It was Bartlett, and he had talked about dropping some mulch in the fall, and he was concerned about his heavier trucks getting stuck in the mud in there, and that may still be an issue in March if the ground is not frozen, Andrew. So I don't know that we could really plan too much in advance for that.
Okay.
Has anyone been by the Champlain North parking area to see if the condo association had moved those leaves?
The last time I was there, which was either earlier this month or near the end of January, they were still there.
Okay.
Leaves. But I could look again.
I'm just wondering if we couldn't wheelbarrow those things over to the Barbizon, didn't solve the whole problem. I don't know how much leaves are there. Okay, let me reach out to the condo association president. Evan, are you trying to meet with him in case he wants to meet with somebody, so you could tell him where to move those leaves? Evan, I think you're on mute.
Who were you talking about meeting with?
I'll have to look at my contacts. Chris Kitching sent me the contact of the guy. I called the president, and I think we were supposed to meet with him to see where to go, because he said he'll throw them over the wall, and I said, well, that's in wetlands, so you probably can't do that. So,
yeah.
I'll give him a call. Can I give him your number to call you?
Sure.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because that's
or
easy.
Or Amanda, if you just want to share your his contact information, I can give him a call
directly. That'd be great. Okay. I'll pass that on.
Maybe you can get Public Works with a front loader and just transport it back to where you were saying by the
oak.
oak.
Yeah.
Good
That wouldn't take
idea.
much.
Oh, Ed loves hearing from us.
Sure he does.
Okay, good thought. Well, maybe we'll call Public Works first, Evan, and then you can tell the guy we're going to move him this year, but don't do it again.
Yeah. That. Well, it seems to me that they should have known where their property line was, and like so many people around, like Bartholomew, where the neighbor just used the open space as a leaf dumping spot.
Oh yeah.
And dumping leaves is pretty benign in the scheme of things, but then it leads to other things that, oh, well, if I can dump leaves here, nobody minds. I can start putting some junk and things I don't use and storing things across the wall. And so better to nip it in the bud.
Exactly. Okay. Andrew, did you have any more comments on the community outreach?
A little bit, but Bruce wanted to add a comment about the bluebird houses.
Okay.
Yeah, that was very important, if you remember with Diana, that she really wanted birdhouses out there. So I'm really glad that it happened, because that was very special to her.
Oh, good. Well, glad we're following through.
Just the last thing is, so everyone should put February 28th from 11 to 1 on their calendars. I'll give you updates as we get closer, but
I think your report said 11 to 2. Is it 11 to 1?
It's 11 to 1 for Sunday the 28th.
Okay.
And the March 21st, currently 2 to 4,
Okay.
but that hour may shift depending upon basketball. And then the other, just kind of an FYI, is that the Interreligious Eco Justice Network, which is based out of New London, they are holding a webinar on environmental legislation for the upcoming state legislative session. And it's going to be Thursday, March 4th from 7 p.m. to 8:30 p.m. It's a Zoom, and there will be different individuals speaking on reducing plastic pollution through the bottle bill, banning toxic PFAS chemicals, creating green justice zones, and strengthening environmental justice law. So that was in the piece that I sent, but I could send you all the link if you are interested. It's not directly related, but kind of has a larger.
Yeah, to know. I think it's very informative. Thank you.
And it's a free, but donations to the Interreligious Eco Justice are always welcome to help in facilitating their programs. So
okay.
I think that's all I have to say.
You also mentioned in your doc about the Lyme Land Trust beaver ecology.
All right.
The link, which is great, because I think that would be something that we should all look at in going forward with our wildlife observation, beaver observation area. And and to put forward, again, more positive reasons of why we should protect beavers.
Right.
Just mention
Amanda?
Yeah.
Amanda?
Yeah.
Can I just mention one other issue? It perhaps goes without reach. You and I had been talking about the, speaking of Lyme, about the Old Lyme Land Trust Open Space Joint Hiking publication. I just heard from Leah Hardy last evening that they made the map correction to adjust the Lay Allen Preserve. So that publication is set to go. So
great.
We're going to try to just reproduce a few in-house at the town hall, or how should we proceed?
Will you, I think I would, if you wouldn't mind, contact Michelle Hayes
Okay.
And I don't know if she would like you to come in so you can physically show her, or we sent it to her, or where we are, but check with her. She said she could do some for you. For those of you that don't remember, we've been working on this for a while. We took the original Old Line hiking map trail that Mike Kiernan and I had updated and everything a couple of years ago. And then we took the article in the Old Lyme Land Trust tributaries last summer that says what's the difference between the land trust and open space. And that was on the back cover, the map was on the front, and on the inside you opened it up like a book, and there was a page for each of the organizations to tell about what we do. And it's very nice. So we were trying to make it a publication. It is color, it is expensive. So we've been working with the land trust on that, and we're hoping that the town will print us some to put in places like at Audubon, the library, the town hall. And then that's not the one though, Andrea.
No,
But
this is
anyway,
the publication you're referring to.
Oh, tributaries.
Yeah, we adopted that bottom article, Who's Who. I'll send a copy of the brochure to everybody after the meeting. It's really well done. It was professional.
Because we've taken it and reduced it to 11 by 17 and can print it forward and back. It's just the cost factor. And it was several $100s for us to do. And we felt that it is a benefit that for the town to have, and the town could absorb with their fancy copy machine. So we're working on that, but that's great to know. We've been working on it on and on and on. And the land trust tributaries person donated, I think, correct me if I'm wrong, Greg, his time to put this together.
Yes,
so
their graphic artist worked many hours on it gratis for us.
yeah, so that was very nice. So it's been a joint contribution by both groups, which is wonderful. So, next, I was going to go to 4D, Herbicide Use Committee Report, Peter Cable. And Peter has, kept us informed. I think it basically started with Eklund and Phragmites. And then when Claudio joined, he put his research mind and expertise to work. And we have drafted and sent to everybody a herbicide use practices. I hope you all received a copy. It's 3 pages, and it's what, as I said, Peter and Claudia have worked a long time on, and we thought this might be a good time for a board discussion on this practice because it differs from what we have as accepted practice that says no use of herbicides. And this is, and correct me if I'm wrong, people, this is what I would term a limited use of herbicides after much exploration about a critical situation, like on Eklund Pond and the Phragmites, and we've been spending money yearly to mow it. And one of the policies that one of the procedures we always talk about every time it comes time to pay for Phragmites mowing on Eklund. And, with all the invasives, it may be something that we need to address at a later time, but I'll open it up to the floor if anyone has any comments. Don't all jump at once.
What I drafted was a draft. It was a draft report on how to on a draft policy on controlling invasive species, controlling and eliminating invasive species. There has been in the past several years a lot of controversy about the use of herbicides, in particular Roundup and glyphosate, is mostly attached to its use in an agricultural setting, where the herbicides are applied, or foliated, or sprayed from aircraft. There are huge amounts, and the most recent controversy had to do with the connection between the use of glyphosate-based herbicides and the occurrence of non-Hodgkin's lymphoma. And there was a study which has been heavily criticized by that concluded that the use of GBH, that is glyphosate-based herbicides, increased by about 40% the onset of lymphoma over a sort of unspecified period of time, but a matter of years. And this is in an agricultural setting. Most of the professionals that whose works I've examined, and people I've spoken with, like Candice Bartholomew at the Yukon Extension, have concluded that the use of herbicides, in particular glyphosate, can be made perfectly safe if it's handled correctly. And that's what my draft tried to get. On the other hand, there's a lot of, because of the media attention, there's a lot of pushback locally. So I think the thing that Amanda and I had in mind was to get your input. How do you folks feel about the use of the potential use of herbicides? I think that's the focus of this. But overall, I'd like your whatever thoughts you had about the draft that I wrote, if you've had a chance to look at it. So that's my opening. I'll just let anyone
Okay, Peter.
The question of herbicides who wants to.
Peter, this is Evan, and
Yes.
I had spoken with Dave Gumbart at the Nature Conservancy, and
Yes.
He sent me the information, which I think I passed on to you, about
Yes.
their organization-wide policy on herbicide use, which seemed to me pretty careful. I personally have used herbicides over the last 20 years in treating invasive shrubs and trees and so forth, but done in a way that is not, as you mentioned, is not a foliar spray.
Yes.
The way they use it in an agricultural, sort of industrial agriculture, with these giant either tractors or even aircraft. It's a little onerous, but it does the trick, and it doesn't broadcast the herbicide around in the environment. So I think that's the sort of case, and in a case-by-case basis, the kind of thing that we can be doing in treating some of the more egregious invasive problems that we have. I know that Jeff Ward, who is with the Connecticut DEP, has used herbicide on Japanese barberry, but on a very limited basis. They go in and they cut it and then let it kind of resprout, and then they hit it with a very local herbicide spray, and that takes care of it.
Does that kill knotweed, Evan?
No, I'm thinking that there is very little very few things that kill knotweed. Knotweed seems to be impervious to just about anything. We've had knotweed sprayed on our property, mowed and then sprayed. When it comes back up, it'll always resprout from the root system, and we've had it sprayed and it just comes back. So I'm not sure, but there is a program now being tested in East Lyme, over in the Oswegatchie area, where they think they've found a way to do it, which is 3 years of cutting once a month, which is a lot of labor. But it seems to be working.
Just to, excuse
That's
me,
manual,
Amanda.
not chemical.
I mean, for as regarding knotweed, as Evan mentioned, Oswegatchie, Suzanne Thompson from town is involved with them, and she's also kind of doing a test plot right behind town hall. I think she and her volunteers in the nip the knotweed program went through there and took it out and removed a lot of it. And I think she's going to go back and do it a couple times. So we'll see how successful she is there.
I think it'd be nice to, if we're thinking about modifying our policy, is to, rather than just jump to an herbicide, see how effective it is. Like Evan, you just mentioned that you sprayed the knotweed and it had no effect. So why, if that had no effect, why even put that in the equation? And so when we ever look at, okay, we might use herbicides on this, let's see how effective it is before we just go blanket herbicide.
Right. Well, I think that can be mentioned in the policy. I don't think we have to get down in the fine weeds in a policy statement.
Right.
I have some. Okay.
The thing that I wrote was largely based on the Nature Conservancy approach to it, and it takes a kind of a top-down look and treats each case, each condition specifically, and it's a careful it's a careful approach. And that's what and you plan your strategy for each condition, for that condition, and I think that's what I tried to get at in that draft. What I haven't included is any of the more specific references to the use of glyphosate that Claudio has in his write-up, which I haven't distributed. Claudia, Claudio may have. I don't know if any of you have seen it.
I have a few comments, Peter. We should add to your draft one paragraph where we say clarify a little what Ivan was also mentioning. I mean, there are like a 1,000-fold or higher concentration in the agricultural use. We are talking about very small amounts and on a very local and manual base for invasives. So the exposure of the person that applies that, or the exposure in the whole environment, surrounding environment, is not really significant. So that is something that we should maybe add one paragraph to clarify that, and then maybe a reference to particular guidelines, or I would say better procedures, like a standard operating procedure, where you'll be like a working in progress document that we keep updating. I shouldn't add that into the document that you have drafted, but having that as a reference and have some kind of procedure that we get also ideas from Nature Conservancy and other organizations, something like that. We could work out on how to apply it, and if we can also apply to different species of invasives different way, depending on the case.
That's one of the
I
things
think I mentioned in my I mentioned in my document that it could be an aerosol spraying us on the particular invasive, but also a very manual and intensive way would be to use just a brush, that brushing the part that was cut previously, and so that is the safest way, but of course on a limited scale, and a lot of manual involvement on the application.
Yeah, I think that's an excellent idea, Claudio, and the use. What I've done is I've tried both. Is using a little paintbrush with some concentrated glyphosate, Roundup, or simply using a drip bottle, like a mustard bottle, and drip it on a cut surface. But that kind of how-to manual should be separate from the policy statement.
Yeah, exactly. Yes, something completely. I mean, an accessory reference or and documentation.
Yeah.
Yes.
Right.
Evan, I don't have a copy of the Nature Conservancy policy that you sent. Peter, could you send it to all of us so we could see?
Yeah, if I can find it again.
Okay, if not, just ask Dave to send it to me or you.
Well, I'll look through my emails, because I think Dave sent it to me by email, and I forwarded it on to Peter.
Yeah. Or Peter, if you have it, send it to all of us, but one of you, that'd be great. And Andrea, I was thinking, because you're on the Connecticut Land Trust, you might ask them what their policy is. So maybe we can do a comparison. And then the other thing I was thinking on that, because I know on McCulloch, they did not allow Eversource to use chemical sprays, but we have other power line sites like Upper 3 Mile River parcel. And so I think at some point we should somebody should reach out to Eversource, because they do a blanket letter. And we all know the town of Old Lyme gets everything, but we as open space managers need to get it and reach out and contact them and say what the policy of the town is. And so we ought to include a conversation with them on this so we can make sure they're not just blanket spraying. That was my thought. I did any other discussion, because I know we have a lot on the agenda.
Sorry, what Linda, what would be the contact? Who is gonna contact the source?
I think, remember Evan, when we went to that meeting at the Connecticut Land Trust up in Middletown, and maybe Andrea can help us with that. They were going to give a contact number, person to contact at Eversource, in terms of spraying it was that program on their right of ways. Remember, it was the Bunny Corridor and migratory birds, and we had the professor from UConn. So maybe Andrea could reach out and find out so we could get Eversource involved, because we do have power lines on almost every one of our open space. There's power lines on Ames, all of these places. So we should include them in our discussion to make sure what they're putting on is agreeable to us. So,
yeah,
sounds like a
plan.
I think ongoing, develop a policy. I'm going to go on, and Stephen, I apologize. I have 3 agendas in front of me, and so you were supposed to be the next person on Champlain North Tortoise Trail update. So I'm sorry, I apologize for going out of order, but you want
No
to,
worries. I was actually relieved not to follow the overachiever of Andrea. But then I have another overachiever in Peter and Claudio. So anyway, in a nutshell, you and I discussed the overall concept of tying together the artist trail that begins in the Florence Griswold Museum property.
yeah,
Perhaps tying it into the Roger Tory Peterson property, and then going across the street into our very own Champlain North property. So to that end, I walked all of the properties with a woman named Sophie Duncan from the Nature Conservancy. And she was very excited about the overall concept of creating an accessible network of trails across the properties. The next step is really to try to connect with Alicia Millardo from RTP and have an email into her to try to discuss the outside of her property and what she intends to do to see if an extension of the artist trail could perhaps go onto their property. I have no idea what their intent is along those lines of creating any outdoor space, but I would imagine that that would be something that they would celebrate. The big challenge, of course, is going to be crossing Lime Street safely. If it's all part of a network, we can talk about what the possibilities are for that. And that's pretty much where it stands at this point.
I think, thank you. Sophie was on our walk with Dave Gumbard on McCulloch with Evan and I, and she was very excited about that. And I know RTP had talked about in the article when they said they bought the Bee and Thistle, they wanted to be part of that. But maybe when you do talk to her, mention we would like to gift them a birdhouse. It's always nice to greet somebody.
Oh, good. Yeah, that'd be wonderful.
Oh, yeah, coordinate it with that. And that Lime Street, Route 1, is a state, so it would be a lot to work on that one. And 2, that road, Wickford, is a private road. We have the right to pass and repass, and we have rights, but we need to be sensitive to their needs. I think it'd be nice to be able to tie it in because they have RTP now, you have Flo Grizz, you have the Academy, you have the Old Lyme Inn, you have us. And so maybe a discussion from all of us to say include it in a larger plan might be a better way than us trying to say to the state, we want to cross the highway. Because we're the Old Lyme Inn's over there too, and it just seems it should be a nice, safe area. And you might want to cite, I'm sure several of you remember a number of years ago when there was a party at the college and a person was killed crossing that highway by the road up by the art college. So I thought, to tie it all in together, there's safety in numbers, I think.
I agree. And I also wanted to add that I'm not sure if I'm an official member of the Halls Road Improvement Committee, but was on a conference with them last night. And they're making great progress on getting a network of sidewalks along Halls Road. I don't know if that includes crossing the Lieutenant River. I don't know if they've tackled that yet, but I want to say that there was 600,000 from the state that they were chasing for that work. And as you point out, combining our resources to create connectivity is top priority in my mind.
Well, I think one of the reasons they are doing the sidewalk is to get down to Flo Grizz and places. So it would just be a natural to me. I would, if you don't mind, if no one objects, I would say get that group involved too and see if we can do something like that. Because that, I mean, every time we have Midsummer, that whole area is the focus down there. Yeah, so I think that'd be great.
Any other questions about what our goals are with regard to that? And Evan, I know you're familiar with Alicia. You had actually given me her name and number, her name and email address.
Yeah.
If you happen to run into her.
Yep. I also am friends with several people on the RTP board. And I've got to make a call after this meeting, make a call to Claudia Weicker. So I can discuss that with her, because she's the chairman of the RTP board, and she would know what their plans are to connect with the FlowGriz, if they have any specific plans to connect with the Florence Griswold pathway.
And if they would like help, perhaps we could engage her. I have a good friend who's a landscape architect. If they haven't engaged a landscape architect for their property, I would be glad to just get something on a sketch paper of where it may make sense from an elevation standpoint. One goal that we're trying to achieve is not have too high slopes, so that it would be accessible to all walkers.
Well, the nice thing about the Bee and Thistle property is that it is pretty flat.
It is
and
flat,
it's part of the Lieutenant River floodplain, outwash plain, and so that whole area. We just sold the property to the north of the Bee and Thistle, which is similar in similar topography, and that's fairly flat.
Do we want to approach Pamela about extending the trail?
I think if she finds, let her approach us.
Just kidding.
Stephen and Evan, Evan, you obviously have some great contacts, and I will defer to you. But if you're not available and you need to reach out to Alicia, Stephen, we've been working with her on Gateway. They're in the process of putting together a substantial grant request to Gateway to do a major invasives cleanup project in the next year or so.
Great.
And so I know Alicia as well. And if I can find their proposal, I'll share it with the commission, because it might be interest also to Peter and his committee.
I think it'd be great if we could reach out to Audubon from all points of view. Nothing wrong with a little repetition, getting our message across that, hey, we're just across the street, but we have a lot of resources and we want to be involved and we want to work with you. I think it'd be very positive. And how we celebrate their new location, right, Evan?
Right, exactly. And I think it would be incumbent on us to do a little fence mending after our sort of rocky start with the Ferry Road property.
Maybe you should like to donate the Ferry Road property to Eklund Pond.
Evan and Andrea and all, we obviously have applied to kind of their sister organization in Hartford. I was going to send a copy of our proposal to Alicia, just as an FYI. Do you think that's a good idea?
Yeah, I think it is. Yep.
I think
you could say you could also mention that if RTP were handing out grants, we'd be applying to them too.
Yeah, that one. Hey, just make sure you CC Sophie on this, because I'd like to get Nature Conservancy more active and working. And she was very eager to, when Evan and I are walking with her. And I think it'd be nice to reach out to them too, because they have a lot of resources that we can use. So that would be great.
Sounds good.
Thank you very much, Stephen. That was nice. Any
Pleasure.
other additional comments? Then I will, hopefully I'm on the right agenda. We'll go to F, Inland Wetland Commission report with Evan.
Okay, again, their inland wetlands seems to be, the activity level seems to be picking up a little bit. There's nothing in particular that has to do with open space. No incursions. Fortunately, there was one issue down in the Point of Woods area. It has nothing to do with open space, but it was cleaning out brush and leaves that had been dumped into a stream and backing the stream up onto other people's property, and that's the sort of thing that's going on. Maybe and otherwise, they were pretty simple. We had a couple of properties on Mile Creek Road that we looked at. We haven't had our meeting yet, but that'll be toward the end of February. Otherwise, we're having more activity right now than we've had probably since 2008, when the whole construction business collapsed, and it was very, very quiet for years, and now we're beginning to pick up again.
Do you see any new construction?
Some. There was one permit application that was taking a house down and replacing it, but it was going to be basically on the same footprint.
Oh, okay. I know Andrea had a question.
Just getting back to the Bartholomew Bridge and to inquire whether the wetland needs to get involved because it's an existing bridge, or if it's an administrative sign off. Is this something that you could present at the meeting, or if Allie is interested in, this Girl Scout is interested, should she and or her dad participate at the meeting? Or
yeah, I think the I could certainly mention it, but I think if they went to Dan, the wetlands enforcement agent, and told him what they wanted to do, and it seems to me that it's simply a maintenance project, not a new building. It would be unlike what the Land Trust wanted to do at 3 Mile Preserve, which was installing a bridge that hadn't been there before. This is replacing or repairing a bridge that's already there,
but also moving it a little from where it is.
Yeah.
Well, I thought you were going to talk to Dan first, Evan, and do an administrative, and then
Right.
Yeah, okay.
Well,
So I think the step is Evan goes first, and then he'll contact Andrea.
Yeah,
and then.
Okay,
sorry, go ahead.
I'll talk to Dan and just see how that works.
Okay.
When is the meeting? You said the end of February?
It's the fourth Tuesday in the month, every month.
So the 23rd.
Yeah.
And do you know what time?
It's online at 6. I think it's 6 o'clock.
Okay.
Sometimes it changes. That they send out an agenda that's, they've changed it from 6:30 to 6 or 6 to 6:30. I'm not sure.
Okay.
But Evan's going to check first, and if it needs to go on to a hearing, then you need to schedule it, and that's with Kim, isn't that?
Yeah.
how it goes?
Well, usually what happens is that somebody comes in, talks to Dan. He comes to the meeting and explains
Okay.
what the issue is, and then the commission votes to either carry on, do a site walk and do a full-blown application and discussion, or simply turn it over to Dan for administrative an administrative permit. So that's the way it works.
Right. And I just sent you that picture via email, so let me know if you don't get it.
Yeah.
I'll let
Okay.
you coordinate that, and then just let us know what at the next meeting, what happened on Bartholomew. I know Steve has to leave at 10:30 to send me I wanted him to have a chance to meet with our new prospective commission applicant. But let's
Uh,
finish up with,
Amanda,
yes?
Amanda, sorry, I'm gonna need to leave at 10:30. I have another.
Okay, usually our meetings are going to be 2 hours, just to tell you people, so.
Oh, okay. I didn't know.
I just try and keep it to 2 hours, so, and I'm, we have a lot
course.
left. So, but
Yes.
anyway, so, we'll see you next month.
Thank
Gary,
you.
so we have G under existing business, Gary Gregory, a Conservation Commission report.
Yes, the Conservation Commission is working in collaboration with the Old Lyme Sustainable Committee, working on pollinators and watersheds for this year. And
Okay.
when I get information on that, I will forward it to everybody every time I get anything, in case you're interested.
I think we all are interested. Always good to know what's going on in town. Anything else? Or is that?
Maybe I could add to Evan's comments there on the Wetlands Commission. Across the street from the Big Y is planning on putting a gas station and a convenience store in there, just for everyone's information.
Is that next to Essex Savings Bank, that lot that was for sale?
Yeah,
Yeah.
Okay.
yeah, it's and it goes, it wraps around the back of Essex Savings, and there's some wetland in there, and so it's, I don't know whether it's going to compete with the Shell station or how that's going to work, but
Yeah. But no gas station, right? Just a convenience store.
no, I think there's going to, that they were talking about a gas station, weren't they, Gary?
Oh, really?
Yes, gas station.
Oh.
Huh.
And there's also a vernal pool back in there too, so there are a few issues.
Yep. I think this is going to go to public hearing.
I would think so too. Yeah. Okay. Well, yeah, keep us posted on that. I'm going to move on to new business. And at this moment, I'd like to introduce a prospective commission applicant, Ann Wells, who, well, Ann, I'm going to let you tell everyone about you.
Well, hi. So I had the pleasure of walking with Evan and Amanda recently at the Tree in the Gap property, and really enjoyed hearing about what you guys are doing. And I grew up in Old Lyme. My family built a house there in 1970, and I lived there, off and on through college years, and have been living in New York and, maintaining my connection to the town through family and friends since then. And my father recently passed away, so I'm a property owner again. And, I'm looking to sort of make a contribution to the town, and I'm really very invested in the idea of preserving the character of the town and the open space qualities that we have. I was telling Amanda and Evan a little bit about my background, which I have a master's degree in environmental planning, and have been working in the historic preservation field and environmental protection field since the 90s, since the early 90s. And right now I'm working for the Garden Conservancy, which is a national nonprofit organization that works with public gardens across the country the work that I do is specifically oriented at supporting their organizational needs and helping when they take on rehabilitation projects. So pretty broad range of support services for public gardens in various places across the country. But, I do have a strong background in conservation, having worked for the New York City Department of Environmental Protection for several years, and having also worked for the Open Space Institute, which is a small land trust in the Catskills area. Well, they were actually in the Hudson Valley in general, but my project that I was working on was in the Catskills. So I have, a fairly good understanding of land conservation and land protection techniques and practices. And, it just seemed like a good fit for me to get involved with open space.
I mentioned to Anne, thank you, Anne, about the pollinator website, Pollinator Gardens. He said, I love them. I'm thinking, well, so here we have someone that, if with all this talk about pollinator gardens, artist trails, things like that, would round out our backgrounds and mesh with ideas and things that we have. Franny, if you have any questions or thoughts to pass on to Anne, feel free.
Would you make sure that Anne's email is on the minutes so I can contact her with pollinator info?
Anne is a prospective member as an alternate, and one of the requirements is that you be a resident of Old Lyme, and she's right now transitioning, so we're kind of waiting to see how that goes, but we would certainly include her in our emails, and she's welcome to attend our meetings, and we look forward to incorporating your ideas and you into some of our projects. So, but yeah, I'll have is that all right if we share your information with the other members, Anne?
Certainly.
Gary, just as an FYI, hi, Ann. Now we can say it. Gary, just as an FYI, Ann's email address was on the distribution of the agenda.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
If you don't mind, Ann, I can forward it to Gary as well.
Sure, absolutely.
Yeah, and I would like to just add my endorsement to getting Ann involved, and I think, given her background and her interest, we'd be well served by having her as part of our group.
Thank you. Well, just
Okay.
I'm very enthusiastic, so just let me know, what else I can do to make that happen.
Okay, I think we need your t-shirt size.
Well, if you're serious, probably a medium. I'm just guessing, but.
Well, let us know how you're transitioning up to Old Lyme, and we meet the second Friday of each month, and we'll include you in our emails, and you can feel free to jump in. We'll figure it out, just like you will, I'm sure.
Great, thank you.
I'm
Wonderful to meet you all.
Thank you.
Pass on to
here.
public comment. Is any public comment at this point? Because we
Amanda.
have an executive session.
Amanda,
Yes, Greg.
can I just make one little comment for under new business? I just wanted to let people know that we did forward open space corrections and comments to the Planning Commission for the 2020 Plan of Conservation and Development. And I heard back from Harold Thompson and King Groves that they will incorporate open spaces comments into the new plan.
Oh, good. Thank you so much. Wasn't there another a meeting last night, and then did anyone attend that?
I believe planning did meet to adopt or to discuss their plan.
Okay.
Right. Thanks for doing that, Greg. That was important because I think it was incumbent on the Planning Commission to listen to what we had to say.
Any additional new business or public comment? If not, then I'm going to suggest that we go to number 7, executive session. And all those, I think, Ann, you're the only one who are not a member. you'll have to excuse yourself so we can go into executive session.
And Sarah.
Oh, Sarah, I'm right. Yes, right, Sarah. So,
I'm sorry, can you repeat that?
we're going to go into executive session.
Yep, I will sign off now. And Greg, if you could just send me the details from executive session and adjournment, that would be helpful.
I will do, Sarah. Thank you.
Do I have a
Okay.
motion?
Thank you all. Bye-bye.
Goodbye, Ann. Thank you for joining. Do I have a motion to go into executive session?
I move.
Okay, Greg at 10:35, a second.
I will second.
Okay,
And do you have to stop the recording?
yes.
Are we in? Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah.
So Bruce is an alternate. He's okay,
Yeah,
or
so Bruce is an
Yes.
alternate. They've ruled that alternates can stay, so.
you're good? Okay.
Gary Gregory, you're here.